Once again, very good afternoon, everyone. Everyone fine? Now, so we have already completed India's 103, only the meaning of business is left. Why I have taken the definition of business at the end? Because there is one amendment in the definition of business, and that amendment is applicable from May 22 attempt. Correct now? Sorry, May 21 attempt. Are you getting what I am saying? From May 21 attempt. So the amendment is applicable from May 21. Are you able to understand? Yes, sir. So if you are doing if you are writing exam for Jan Feb 21 exam, then this amendment is not applicable. So it means I need to do this definition in two parts. What was the meaning of business before amendment? What is the meaning of amendment? What is the meaning of business after amendment? Correct? Yes, sir. So let me first come to you. What was the pre-amendment definition of business? Correct now? Understood? So business, what they used to say in India's 103, कि a business is a integrated set of activities and asset. A business is a integrated set of activities and asset. So a business consists of set of activities and asset. They are conducted that are conducted and managed that are conducted and managed for the purpose of providing a return to the investor or lowering cost or lower of cost or other economic benefit directly and proportionately to investor or other owner a member of participant. Correct now? So you just try to understand what they say. A business consists of integrated set of activities and asset. That is the input which are conducted and managed. So some process is required for the purpose of providing a return to investor or lower cost or any other economic benefit. So this become output. So can I say business consists of input, process and output? So they have given three elements of business. The three elements of business are defined as follow: input, process and output. So what is the meaning of input? Any economic resources that create or has the ability to create output. Any economic resources that create or has the ability to create output when one or more processes are applied to it. So this is known as input. So any asset, tangible asset, intangible asset will come in this category. Yes, sir. Process means any system, any standard, protocol, convention, means any type of system or standard or protocol or convention or rule that when applied to an input, that when applied to input or group of inputs create or has the ability to create output. Correct now? So any system, any standard, any protocol, any convention, any rule when applied to input or group of input, correct now, which when applied create or has the ability to create an output, then it become a process. So can I say output means the result of input and process, the result of input and process applied to those input that provide or have the ability to provide return in the form of dividend or lower cost or any other economic benefit directly to investor or other owner or member or any other participant. So this become output. So what they say, whenever any any entity has input, process and output, so that input, process and output consist of a business, consist of business. Correct now? Then one clarification has been given: business consists of input and process that have the ability to create or generate output. Means actual output is not required. If they have the ability to generate output, then also that input and process can be considered as what? That input and process together will be considered as a business. Correct now? It means output is not required for the integrated set of activities and asset to qualify for the definition of business. Only this much was given. This was the meaning of business before amendment. So a lot of clarification was required for this business definition. So some point has been added in the meaning of business and some guidance has been given which will give more clarification for the meaning of business. Have you understood? Let us understand what actually is now the meaning of business. I hope you have understood what I am saying. So what is the meaning of business? What they say, right? Let us understand. A business is an integrated set of activities and asset. It is an integrated set of activities and asset that is capable of being conducted and managed, that is capable of being conducted and managed for the purpose of providing goods or services to the customer. Means a new point has been added. This is totally a new point. For the purpose of providing goods or services to the customer. Means business, when we say business, they will provide goods or services to the customer or generating investment income, or that activities and asset can be conducted or managed for generating investment income also. The clarification was given, in this output may be also investment income means such as dividend or interest, or generating other income from ordinary activities, or generating other income from ordinary activities. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So a business is an integrated set of activities and assets that are capable of being conducted and managed for the purpose of providing goods or services to the customer, or generating investment income, or generating other income from ordinary activities. Correct? Now means if you compare with the old definition, they said they are conducted and managed for the purpose of providing a return to investor. Means can I say, when I say return to investor, means it is, they are saying about what? Dividend and lowering cost means a business, means a doubt was there कि any set of activities which may lower the cost of the business, which may lower the cost of the entity, whether that process will be a business. That was a doubt. Are you getting? So this has been removed, this point has been removed from the definition of business. Correct? Let me once again go to the further point. One thing is clear, that a business consists of input and process. Business consists of input and process that have ability to generate output. So that have ability to generate output. So a business consists of input and process that have the ability to generate output. It means output is not required. Output is not required for integrated set of activities and asset. So output is not required for the integrated set of activities and asset to qualify for the meaning of, for the definition of business. So actual output is not required if the input and process have the ability to generate output. Means suppose we have started one startup business. Means we have started only a business, so that have the ability to create output. So that startup will be also come under a definition of business, even though right now we are not able to generate output, but have the ability to generate output. Correct? Now so it means output is not required for the integrated set of activities and asset to qualify for the definition of business. Now what? However, to be considered a business, to be considered a business, an integrated set of activities and asset, an integrated set of activities and business must include, must include at a minimum. So what they say, to be considered as a business, an integrated set of activities and asset must include at a minimum, what they may include, an input. It must have input and what? And substantive process. So it must have minimum what? Input and substantive process that together significantly contribute to the ability to create output. So you can see they have added one word, substantive process. Means in the old definition they have used the word process, which is now substituted by a word substantive process. So it must have input and what? Substantive process as a minimum requirement for what? For qualifying for the definition of business, for qualifying the definition of business. Correct? Now so if you want to, means if you want to find out whether a set of integrated set of activities and asset will qualify the meaning of definition or not. So that integrated set of activities and asset must have an input and substantive process. Correct now. Substantive process. So what is the meaning of substantive process? Means when a process will be substantive, that we need to understand. Yes, sir. Correct now. But we need to we need to find out whether that have in minimum input and substantive process or not. But what happened means what Ind AS 103 has done, they have given an optional test. They have given an optional test to permit. Optional test has been given to permit a simplified assessment of whether an acquired set of activities an asset is a business or not a business. Correct now. Means an optional test has been given. Means this optional test may be applied or may not be applied. If the entity is not applying this optional test, then it means then they need to then they need to apply the general criteria what is given under Ind AS 103 to find out what to find out whether there is an input or substantive process or not. But if they apply optional test, which is nothing but a concentrated concentration test, also known as concentration test, correct now. So what is concentration test said? Let us understand what they say. An entity may elect to apply or not to apply the test. So this is an optional test. This is an optional test. Yes, sir. An entity may make such an election separately for each transaction or other event. Means for each business combination transaction, this test will be applied separately. So an entity may make such an election whether to apply or not to apply the test for each business combination transaction separately. Correct now? Have you understood? Yes, sir. Now what this test says, just try to understand. First question, does the entity want to apply the concentration test? If the answer is no, then consider general guidance. So we need to apply the general guidance. General guidance means what? Entity need to find out whether an integrated set of activities or an asset must have at minimum input and substantive process. This is general guidance, correct now. Then they need to find out whether that set of activities and asset have what input and substantive process, correct? Understood? Yes, sir. But if they want to apply concentration test, then what need to be done? What need to be done? Then the second question was they will ask is substantially all the fair value of gross asset acquired concentrated in a single identifiable asset. Means what they are saying, substantially all the fair value of gross asset acquired, means whatever asset you have acquired, the fair value of all asset acquired is concentrated in a single identifiable asset. For example, you have acquired 5 assets, correct? And you have paid 100 lakh, but the fair value of one asset is only 95 lakh. So can I say the whatever you have paid for five asset is concentrated only in one single asset. Means actually you have paid for one asset, the other asset are nothing but that is a part or component supporting the main principal asset. Are you able to understand? So what they are saying is substantially all the fair value of the gross asset acquired, all the is substantially all the fair value of gross asset acquired is concentrated in a single identifiable asset. If the answer is yes, test pass, it is not a business. So test pass, it is not a business. It is not a business. Correct? Yes, sir. If the answer is no, then second question you will ask is substantially all the fair value of gross asset acquired concentrated in a group similar identifiable asset. In a group of similar identifiable asset means it might happen you have acquired similar identifiable asset. For example, you acquire five investment property with other asset also. Now the fair value of gross asset acquired, is substantially concentrated in a group of means for in a group of that five investment property where it's substantially concentrated in a group of that five investment property, then also if the answer is yes, test pass, then the acquisition of that asset will not constitute a business. Correct now. So test pass and it is not a business. So if it is not a business, then we need to apply the guidance given under Ind AS 103 for the acquisition of asset. Are you getting? And if the test is not passed, the test failed, consider general guidance. Understood why this test is known as concentration test? Why the test is known as concentration test? Because we need to find out whether all the fair value of gross asset acquired is substantially concentrated in a single identifiable asset or group of similar identifiable asset. Correct? Therefore the word is concentration test. I hope you have understood what they want to say. The concentration test is met if substantially all the fair value of gross asset acquired is concentrated in a single identifiable asset or group of similar identifiable asset. Means now we need to understand what is the meaning of fair value of gross asset acquired. We need to understand how to calculate fair value of gross asset acquired. Understood? Means if you can identify what is the fair value of gross asset acquired, then you can compare with the fair value of single asset or similar identifiable asset. You can compare if substantially it covers the fair value of single identifiable asset, then it means what? It means it is not a business. It is not a business acquisition. So what they have said, how to find out fair value of gross asset acquired for the concentration test. So we need to find out the fair value of gross asset acquired calculated. So what they said, it is equal to fair value of consideration transferred. This fair value of consideration transferred plus the fair value of any NCI. This also fair value of NCI plus fair value of any previously held equity interest. This also this is the already you have done when you have calculated goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. Correct now. So this is the total. From in this you'll add the fair value of liability assumed. Fair value of liability assumed. So all the fair value of liability assumed will be added. Other than deferred tax liability, apart from deferred tax liability. So deferred tax liability will not be added. Yes, sir. The fair value of liability assumed will be added apart from deferred tax liability. And from this you deduct following item. Cash and cash equivalent to cash and cash equivalent should not be considered to find out fair value of gross asset acquired. So cash and cash equivalent deferred tax assets should not be added to उसको deduct कर देंगे. Are you getting? Deferred tax asset will be deducted and goodwill resulting from the effect of DTL. So goodwill, which goodwill? Goodwill resulting from the effect of DTL. Means can I say whenever we recognize DTL, so we write on 2 DTL, so automatically the goodwill increase. So when we recognize DTL, so automatically it will increase goodwill. So what they are saying will not add, means we need to deduct goodwill arising from the effect of DTL. From this we will deduct this become the fair value of gross asset acquired. Means just try to understand when I say fair value, everyone, fair value of consideration, fair value of consideration transferred plus fair value plus fair value plus fair value of NCI plus fair value of previously held equity interest. So I'm writing fair value of investment held, previously held equity interest. Correct now. From this minus fair value of INA is equal to goodwill. This formula we have done. Correct. This fair value of INA is nothing but fair value of asset minus fair value of liability is equal to goodwill. Is equal to goodwill. Are you getting what I am saying? Have you understood what I am saying? Yes, sir. Correct. So can I say in this way? Just try to understand what I am saying. In these, what they have done, they have added what? They have added what? They have added what? Fair value of liability. In this, they are adding fair value of liability. Are you getting what I am saying? Correct? Bol. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Means just try to understand. This is what. So if this is what minus, so what happened? Just try to understand. What is the formula? Fair value of consideration plus NCI plus fair value of investment held. Fair value of investment held. This minus minus will become plus. So we'll say fair value of liability. Fair value liability, which will be equal to goodwill plus fair value of asset. Fair value of asset. Can we write down in this way? Yes, sir. So can you see that this become fair value of gross asset acquired including goodwill? This become fair value of gross asset acquired including goodwill. But can you see it will have some asset which should not be considered. For example, it include cash and cash equivalent that should not be considered. It also include what? Deferred tax asset. It also include deferred tax asset. It also include goodwill which resulted due to deferred tax liability. So this should be removed and this should be deducted from this. So that become fair value of gross asset acquired. Fair value of gross asset acquired. Are you getting what I am saying? Correct. So that become fair value of gross asset acquired. Are you getting what I am saying? Yes, sir. Or alternatively, it can be calculated as under also the fair value of identifiable asset, excluding cash and cash equivalent and deferred tax asset, excluding cash and cash equivalent and deferred tax asset. यहाँ से कर दो. Add sum of what? Add sum of what we need to add? The fair value of consideration transferred. Add fair value of previously held equity interest. Add fair value of NCI less fair value of net identifiable asset acquired. This is the fair value of net identifiable asset acquired. Have you understood what I have done? Huh? This is fair value of identifiable asset. Fair value of identifiable asset. So the same answer will come. Means alternatively we can calculate this. This is a mathematical point. Mathematical point. Let us take one question based on this. Ki how to find out fair value of gross asset acquired. Correct now. Come to question number. Come to question number. Example number 6. Entity A hold 20% interest in entity B. This is the previously held equity interest. Subsequently, entity A further acquired 50% shares in entity B by paying rupees 300 crore. This is the fair value of consideration transferred. The fair value of asset acquired and liability assumed are as follow. Building itna, cash and cash equivalent itna, financial liability itna, DTL itna. Fair value of entity B is 400 crore. Fair value of entity B is 400 crore. Fair value of NCI is 120 crore. And fair value of entities A's previously held equity interest is 80 crore. Understood what they have given? I hope you have understood the question. Yes, sir. So what will be the answer? Means we are here to find out the fair value of gross asset acquired. Fair value of gross asset acquired. Correct? To write down. Answer will be what? Correct. So can I say this will be equal to fair value of consideration transferred. How much? This is equal to what? 300 crore. Yes, sir. In this we'll add fair value of NCI. Fair value of NCI it is given 120 crore. Yes, sir. In this we'll add fair value of previously held equity interest that is given what? 80 crore. 80 crore. In this we'll add fair value of all liability assumed but excluding what? Excluding what? Excluding DTL means we'll add only 800 crore. 800 crore. And from this we'll minus cash and cash equivalent and DTA or any goodwill arising due to recognition of DTL. Correct now. So they have given only cash and cash equivalent. Cash and cash equivalent given what? 200 minus. So this is coming how much? 300 plus 120 plus 80 plus 800 minus 200. That is 1100. Correct. Now this will be compared with the fair value of single asset acquired. You can see in this building has been acquired. So what is the fair value of building? Fair value of building is 1000, and if you compare these two, so 1000 is how much percentage of 1100? That is 1000 divided by 1100, it is 90.90 percentage. 90.90 percentage, correct now. So can I say substantially? The word substantially has not been defined, but can I say we can say that in this case fair value of gross asset acquired is substantially concentrated in single identifiable asset because it is 90%, because it is 90.90% of fair value of gross asset acquired. Means whatever you are paying for what? Building only. Means other assets are very insignificant. Therefore it is a asset acquisition. This is not business acquisition. Therefore Ind AS 103 will not be applied. The guidance which has been given for the accounting treatment of asset acquisition will be applied. I hope you have understood. Have you understood this point? Have you understood this point? Yes, sir. So this is the concentration test, but concentration test is optional. This was not given in the initial Ind AS 103. Correct now. So there is one amendment. Now for identifying the business, an entity may apply concentration test. Means they may not apply the general guidance given under Ind AS 103 for identifying a business. They may apply concentration test, and the test satisfied, then whatever they have acquired that will not meet the definition of business, therefore Ind AS 103 is not applicable. I hope you have understood. But can I say if the test is not satisfied or entity does not opt for applying test, then entity need to apply general guidance. So what is that general guidance? That also we need to understand. Yes, sir. Now what Ind AS 103 says? What they say? If the concentration test fail or entity opt not to apply the concentration test, then entity need to consider the general guidance. What is the general guidance? The minimum requirement to meet the definition of a business. The minimum requirement to meet the definition of a business. And what is the minimum requirement? If the acquired process is, and if sorry the minimum requirement to meet the definition of business, and if the acquired process is substantive. Correct now. Means they need to meet 2 point here. But what is the general guidance? The first, they need to consider the minimum requirement to meet the definition of business, and if the process is substantive. Correct now. And the process is substantive, means if the process is not substantive, then also it will not be a business. Correct. Understood. Means can I say in this way concentration test. Everyone just try to understand. Concentration test. Applied, not applied. Correct. Applied में satisfied, the test is satisfied, not satisfied. If satisfied, then it is not a business. Correct. But if not applied and not satisfied, then it took what? Apply general guidance. given under Ind AS 103. So under general guidance, they need to consider minimum requirement, minimum requirement, correct? And they need to also prove whether the process, whether process is substantive, process is substantive. Are you getting what I'm saying? Correct. Process is substantive. Minimum requirement. What is the minimum requirement? Minimum requirement means there must be input, there must be process, and there must be ability to generate output. There must be ability to generate output. Now, output means there can be right now either there can be output or there is no output. They both situation may arise, but there must be ability to generate output. This is the minimum requirement. Understood? So if these two conditions satisfied, then it is a business. Otherwise, it is not a business. Understood what I am saying? This is a general guidance. So once again, I'll come to this point. The what they say, the entity need to consider the minimum requirement to meet the definition of a business, and the process is substantive. This is explained in the following paragraph. What is the minimum requirement to meet the definition of a business? Correct. So in order to meet the definition of business, the acquired set of activities and asset, the acquired set of activities and asset, the acquired set of activities and asset must have input and substantive process that can collectively significantly contribute to the creation of output. Means that must consist of input and substantive process that can collectively significantly contribute for the creation of output. Understood this point? Yes, sir. So can I say element of business? When I say element of business, it consists of input, process. A business consists of input and process. Applied input and process applied to those input and process applied to those input that have the ability to contribute to the creation of output. So they must have input and process applied to those input. They must have input and process applied to those input that have the ability for the creation, that have ability to contribute to the creation of output. Mean, just try to understand. If I say my business, can I say I have what? Camera, I have mic, I have furniture, I have laptop, everything asset I have, and I have a defined process also. I have a defined process which is managed and conducted by a group of employees, which is managed and conducted by a group of employees. Means, can I say I have a workforce to manage that? Means, of course, in the morning I will not set up this all equipment. Can I say there is some technical person required who will take care of all the recording at the time when I am taking the classes? If there is some time you see that I stop in between, why? Because there is some technical problem. So who will inform me about technical problem? That person will inform me. Means right now someone is sitting in front of me who is taking care of this. So can I say there is a recording process? Once the recording process is over, then editing process will start. Once the editing process will be completed, then we need to create we need to create a encrypted video. Encrypted video means we'll not give the raw video to the student, we'll give an encrypted video. So for that we have some other person who will make an encrypted video. Then marketing activities are there. So there are some process which is managed and conducted by a set of employee. Correct. And if that process is applied in that input means asset. Correct. Now if the process is applied in that input, then they have the ability to create what? Output. That have the ability to create the output. I hope you understood. So elements of business are input an economic resource that create an economic resource that create or has the ability to create output. An, e- an economic resource that has the ability that create or has the ability to create output when one or more process are applied on it. When one or more process are applied on it. So camera, can I say camera is input? So when the process is applied on it, so can I say that has the ability to create the recorded classes which can be sold afterward, which can be sold to the student afterward. Yes sir. Example, pp, intangible asset, right to use asset, intellectual property, whatever you say, all asset, intangible or tangible. Yes sir. Process, can I say it is any system, any standard, any protocol, means there must be a standard, there must be a system design, there must be a set of protocol, convention is practice, a rule that when applied to input or group of input create or has the ability to create output. For example, strategic management process, operational process, resource management process. Correct now. This process are intellectual capacity. This process are the intellectual capacity of an organized workforce. Means of course there must be an organized workforce to to apply that process. So this process the intellectual capacity of an organized workforce having the necessary skills and experience, following rules and convention may provide the necessary process that are capable of being applied to the input to create output. Correct? Understood? Yes, sir. Output means what? The result of input and process. The result of input and process when applied to those input that provide goods or services to the customer, generate investment income or generate any other income from ordinary activities that become output. Means simple word revenue. Means output means revenue. Output means revenue. We are not discussing about other income. Output means revenue. Understood this point? Yes, sir. Token is first we need to find out whether a integrated set of activities and asset have the minimum three element. What are the minimum three elements? Elements of business are input, process and output. I hope you understood. Now we need to also find out is the acquired process, whatever process you have acquired is substantive, correct now? Understood. So what is this? Now there can be two situations. If the set of activities, 1 minute. See, if the set of activities and asset does not have output at acquisition date, means can I say they have the ability to create output. So on acquisition date there is no output. For example, I purchase a startup business. So when I purchase startup business, it may have input, it may have process, but when process will be applied to input, they have the ability to create output in future. So it might happen on acquisition date there is no output. Correct now. So if the set of activities and asset does not have output on acquisition date, so we need to understand whatever process you have acquired whether it is substantive or not. So only substantive process will be considered as what? Business. Means there must be input and substantive process. If you have input but a process is not substantive, then it is not a business. Then whatever asset you have acquired, that is an asset acquisition, not business acquisition. So to qualify the definition of business, there must be asset, and with asset you have also acquired substantive process. Understood? Yes sir, correct. Now if the set of activities an asset does not have output at acquisition date, then what's it? An acquired process, an acquired process or group of process, an acquired process or group of process shall be considered as substantive only if the process is critical. The process is critical means not simple. The process is critical to develop or convert an acquired input into output. The process is critical. In simple word, I say process is critical means process not simple. Correct? And the input acquired and the input acquired include both an organized skilled workforce and other input that the organized workforce could develop or convert into output. Correct? Means there are two conditions need to be satisfied when there is no output on acquisition date. So can I say if the set of activities and asset does not have output at acquisition date, then acquired process or group of process shall be considered as substantive only when the process is critical. First point is process is critical. Critical for what? To develop or convert an acquired input into what? Output. Process is critical. Everyone respond with me. Process is critical. Critical to develop to develop or convert an acquired input into output, and the input acquired include input acquired in, include input acquired include both an organized skill force both an organized skilled force workforce organized skilled workforce and other input that the skilled force organized workforce could develop or convert into output. नहीं समझ में आया, just try to understand. Means whatever process acquired is critical and 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 this is the first condition, and plus input acquired include include skilled workforce and input input skilled workforce and input which input on which if the just try to understand the input acquired include both an organized skill force and other input that the organized skill force could develop or convert into output. Key those input other input which organized skilled force can develop or convert into output. Correct now. So this input include organized skilled force and other input which input this skilled workforce can convert or develop this input into what output. Then this process will be what substantive. This process will be substantive. Once again, correct. Once again, I will repeat. If a set of activities, an asset, does not have output on acquisition date, then process or a group of process is considered as substantive if point number one, process is critical, point number two, the input acquired include both organized skilled workforce and other input, which input other input that the organized skilled force could develop or convert into output. Correct now. Means that input has the ability to generate output with the help of what? Organized skilled force. Correct now. So that input can be converted or developed into an output with the help of organized skill force. With the help of organized skill force. Correct now. So can I say both are necessary? Whenever there is no output, so both is necessary. Input acquired must include organized skilled force and other input, which other input that the organized skilled force can convert or develop into output. I hope you have understood. Correct. This is a keyword. This keyword should be identified in a given question. Correct. So first, whenever there are three input, then to find out whether the process is substantive, first find out whether there is output on acquisition date. If there is no output on acquisition date, find out whether there is a critical process. Yes. Whether there is an input must include what? Organized skill force plus input that organized skill force can convert or develop into output. Yes, sir. If a set of activities, an asset, has output at acquisition date, means it has output acquisition date, then when process will be considered as substantive. What they say? An acquired process or group of process shall be considered as substantive if process is critical to continue producing output. Process is critical to continue producing output. Means you acquire process, but if the process is critical but that cannot be used to continue production, so it must be a continuous process. Process critical, so process is not simple, process is critical to continue producing output, and the input acquired include an organized skilled workforce. An input acquired include an organized skill force. Just try to understand in this point, this is not required. This is not written कि input acquired must include other input that the organized workforce could develop or why, because right now we have output on acquisition date. So process is a continuous process that is understood कि output can be generated. Output can be generated. One second. An acquired process or group of process is considered substantive if the process is critical to continue producing output and the input acquired include an organized skilled force. Itna. So if these two conditions satisfied, then the acquired process will be considered as substantive. Correct now. Or second point, process means acquired process is considered as substantive if process significantly contribute to the ability to continue producing output. Process significantly contribute to the ability to continue producing output and is considered unique or scarce, means that process is very much unique or scarce, means that process is not available everywhere. It is a unique or scarce or cannot be replaced without significant cost, effort or delay in the ability to continue producing output. Means you can see, even though there is no even though input does not include organized skilled force, then also it will be considered as business. So what they said, an acquired process shall be considered as substantive if the process is considered unique or scarce is unique or it is very rare, I will say scarce, or cannot be replaced without significant cost, means it is not available in the market easily, cannot be replaced without significant cost, effort or delay in the ability to continue producing output. Have you understood? So in this point number B, even though there is no skilled workforce acquired, then also it will be considered as a business, means the process will be considered as what, substantive. The process is considered as substantive, and if the process is substantive, so can I say the acquired set of activities and asset will be considered as business. I hope you have understood this point. I hope you have understood. Have you understood the meaning of business? Bolo. Have you understood the meaning of business? Now, to understand the meaning of business, you need to go through some questions, examples, I will say. Means institute has given lot of examples to understand. In exam, this example will be converted in question. Examples will be converted into questions. Are you getting what I am saying? Yes, sir. Let me take some example. Example means it is just like an illustration. It's not a question. An entity as sells its radio broadcasting asset to another entity. The acquired set of activities and assets comprise the broadcasting license, broadcasting equipment, and broadcasting studio. At an acquisition date, the fair value of each of the assets sold is considered similar. Correct? No process, means these are the similar assets. No process needed to broadcast the radio shows are sold, and there are no employee or other asset activities or process included, means no employee, no other asset are included. Entity S has stopped using the acquired set of activities and asset before date, and they are sold to entity R, means there is no output also. Entity R decided to apply optional concentration test and determine that the broadcast equipment and the stereo are not a single identifiable asset. Means they are not single identifiable asset because the equipment is not attached to the stereo and can be separated without being costly or causing a loss of use of fair value of either asset. Means they are two different identifiable asset, means there is no single asset. The license is an intangible asset, and the broadcasting equipment and the studio are both tangible asset belonging in different classes. As a result, the asset is not considered similar to each other, so they are not similar to each other. There is similar fair value for each of the single identifiable asset. Thus the fair value of gross asset acquired is not substantially all concentrated in a single identifiable asset, a group of similar identifiable assets. Means concentration test is not satisfied. Therefore, the concentration test is failed. Entity are therefore assets whether the acquired set of activities and the asset meet the minimum requirement to be considered as business. So now once the concentration test is failed, therefore entity R need to assess whether the acquired set of activities and asset meet the minimum requirement to be considered as business. So acquired set of activities and asset have output. Right now that does not have output. Correct. Because entity S has stopped broadcasting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thus, entity R apply the relevant criteria in Ind AS 103 to determine whether the process is substantive. So they need to apply the relevant criteria. Means they need to apply this criteria. Which criteria? This criteria. This criteria. Yes, sir. Now, as the set does not include an organized workforce, they do not have any organized workforce, the relevant criteria have not been met. So the input must include an organized workforce. So there is no organized workforce, there was no output also. Yes, so therefore entity are conclude that acquired set of activities and asset is not a business. So you can understand this example. When you read the example, you will have better understanding of the definition of business and when a process is substantive, when a process is not substantive. I hope you have understood correct now. Can you read all the example by your own? Because I will read, you will read, both are, but I'll take one question. Let on exam means example number 8. Come to example number 8. Means from my point of view, example number 8 and example number 9 is important. Yes, sir. Company D is a development stage entity that has not started revenue generating operation. It is under development stage. Now, I will do example number 9. 8 is easy. Company acquired 100% of the equity and voting right of Company P, a subsidiary of a property investment group. So P is a investment property group. Company P owns three investment property. The property are single tenant industrial warehouse subject to long-term lease. The lease obliges Company P to provide basic maintenance and security services which have been outsourced to third-party contractor. Means there is no employee of their own. The administrative of Company P's lease was carried out by an employee of his former parent company, to employee of his former parent company on a part-time basis, but this individual does not transfer to a new owner. Means this employee was not transferred. In most cases, an asset, a group of assets and liability that are being capable of generating revenue, combined with all or many of the activities necessary to earn revenue, would constitute a business. However, investment property is a specific case in which the earning a return for investor is defining characteristics of this asset. Accordingly, revenue generation and the activities that are specific and ancillary to an investment property and its tenancy agreement should therefore be given lower weighting in assessing whether the acquiree is a business or not. Further process is not critical. Token is one thing, there is no output. Correct now. And process is not critical also. Correct. Process is not critical to ability to continue the producing output. Also process is not unique. Process is not critical and process is not unique also. It can be replaced easily without significant cost. So you can see process is not critical, process is not unique also. In our view, purchase of investment property with tenant and service that are purely ancillary to the property and its tenancy agreement should generally be accounted as an asset purchase. I hope you have understood. One more example. Company acquires similar example with some difference. Company acquire 100% equity and voting right of Company Q, which own three investment property. The properties are multi-tenant residential condominiums subject to a short-term rental agreement that obliges Company Q to provide substantial maintenance and security services. means now they provide substantial maintenance and security services which are outsourced with a specialist provider. Company Q has 5 employees who deal directly with the tenant and with the outsourced contractor to resolve any non-routine securities or maintenance requirement. 3 employees are involved in a variety of lease management tasks and marketing activity to maximize the quality of tenant and rental income. In this case, company Q consists of a group of revenue generating asset together with employee and activity that clearly go beyond the activities ancillary to the properties and their tenancy agreement. Further process is critical. Process means identification and selection of tenant is and critical to the ability to continue producing output. Correct now output. Thus asset and activities are clearly integrated, so company Q is considered as business. So in this case company Q can be considered as business. I hope you have understood. Means you need to understand the entire requirement of this definition, then only you can give answer in exam. Means a question which is asked from this topic may be difficult. If they ask you to identify business, so of course you need to understand what is given. Correct now. For that we need to understand the key terms and memorize the key terms also. So keep your time to memorize the definition, I will say. However, less chances that in from this chapter they will ask you case study on business. From my point of view, they will ask questions from this chapter, not practical question from from this chapter. Very rare chances I will say they will ask a question based on the identification of business. But from my point of view, this chapter is completed. I hope you have understood. From my point of view, this chapter is completed. Any doubt? No doubt? Yes, sir. So can we start a new chapter? Sir, which chapter you will take? We'll take a very small chapter, Ind AS 8. Ind AS 8. Chalega? Ind AS 8. Very simple chapter. Can we do it? Can we start? Okay. Ind AS 8, changes in accounting policies, changes in accounting estimate, and error. Correct? Three topic: accounting estimate, accounting policies, and error. First we'll concentrate on accounting policies, because once you understand accounting policies, then accounting uh, estimate and error will be very easy. Correct? Now scope and objective. What is the scope and objective of this chapter? To it will be applied for criteria for selecting accounting policy, criteria for changes in accounting policy, accounting for changes in accounting policy, changes in accounting estimate, and changes in correction of prior period error. Correct? So what is accounting policy? Accounting policies are specific accounting principle, basis, convention, rules applied in the preparation and presentation of financial statement. So when we say accounting policy, it will include accounting principle, basis means measurement base, cost model, revaluation model, convention means the general practice of accounting, rules and practice which are applied in the preparation and presentation of financial statement. Selection criteria of accounting policy means which accounting policy will be followed for a particular transaction. Correct now. So what they said, whenever a specific Ind AS applies to a particular transaction event, apply that specific Ind AS. Means if you purchase PP, it will apply Ind AS 16. Yes, sir. But in the absence of specific Ind AS, what 8 says, Ind AS 8 says कि management shall use their own judgment in developing and applying accounting policies. In developing and applying accounting policy. But for developing judgment, means in making their own judgment, management shall refer and consider the applicability of following in the descending order. Means they have in AS 8 has given some mandatory source and some optional source which the management should consider for developing accounting policy. So what is the mandatory source? Ind AS dealing with the similar and related issues. Means we need to first find out Ind AS which deals with the similar and related issue. For example, we receive a grant from non-government agencies. We receive a grant from non-government agencies. So can I say we have a similar Ind AS 20 for the related issue? We have a Ind AS 20 for the similar and related issues. Therefore, Ind AS 8 says we can apply Ind AS 20. Ind AS 8 says we can apply Ind AS 20. Understood? Yes, sir. Then if the Ind AS is not there, means similar Ind AS is not there, then we'll apply framework for the preparation and presentation of financial statement. If that cannot be also applied, then we'll find out optional source. Optional source will include most recent pronouncement by International Accounting Standard Board, means pronouncement given by IASB, correct. Other accounting standard setting bodies, for example, we can also refer the guidance given by ICI. We can also refer the guidance given by ICI. Other accounting literature, we can find out what is the accounting treatment given in US GAAP. Yes, sir. Accepted industry practice, we can also understand what the industry is following. Correct. If there is no accounting standard in the accounting standard, so what actually the given industry is following? If that is accepted, we can follow that also. Correct. Yes, sir. Then consistency of accounting policies. Of course, entities shall select and apply accounting policy consistently for similar transaction, event and conditions. Correct now. However, different accounting policy can be selected and applied consistently for different category if Ind AS permit. For example, for PP means Ind AS 16 says that for one class of asset you can use cost model, and for other class of asset we can use revaluation model also. So that Ind AS permit, therefore we can do it. Understood? Yes, sir. Changes in accounting policy. An entity can change accounting policy only if the change is required by Ind AS or change will result in financial statement providing reliable and more relevant information. Correct now. So can I say point number one become a mandatory change, but point number two is resulting in voluntary change. Voluntary change that depends upon the discretion of management. Discretion of management. Yes, sir. Correct. Now, what are not a change in accounting policy? There are some change which will actually not a change in accounting policy, but it look like that it is change in accounting policy. For example, application of an accounting policy which differ in substance. Application of an accounting policy which differ in substance. For example, last year there was a car which was held for rental. So if a car which was held for rent, you have applied Ind AS 16 and you have charged depreciation on that. But now that car is included in inventory and held for sale in the ordinary course of business. So that car will become what? Inventory. So can you say we require reclassification and now you will apply Ind AS 2. So this change means you have changed your accounting policy. Last year it was PP, this year it is inventory. So you need to change your accounting policy, but this is not a change in accounting policy. Why? Because the application of accounting policy which differ in substance. Last year it was PP, this year it is what? Inventory. Application of new accounting policy for a transaction which do not occur previously. Suppose we have changed our business. Previously we used to take face-to-face class, so we used to recognize revenue over a period of time. But now we, due to COVID-19, we are into only sale of pen drive classes. So can I say now once the sale is done, our revenue will be recognized at a particular point of time. So we change our accounting policy because we have changed our business. So it means, can I say this is not a change in accounting policy. Now application of new accounting policy for a transaction which were immaterial previously. Means suppose last year we have some byproduct which were immaterial in value. Therefore, we have applied Ind AS 2. We valued at NRV and that NRV was deducted from cost price of main product. And we have not recognized any revenue on sale of such byproduct. Yes, sir. But now that product the value become material in current year. So can I say now we'll apply Ind AS 2, but we'll value such inventory at cost price or NRV whichever lower, and the sale of such inventory will be considered as revenue when we to apply Ind AS 1 and 5. So can I say there is a change in accounting policy for immaterial item to material item. So this is not a change in accounting policy. I hope you have understood. Correct? Now accounting for change in accounting policy. Accounting for change in accounting policy. So what Ind AS it says, accounting treatment for change in accounting policy if it is resulting from initial application of Ind AS. Initial application of Ind AS. Correct? Means if it is due to initial application of Ind AS. So can I say it is mandatory change? So whenever we apply a new Ind AS or revise Ind AS, that Ind AS may include a transitional provision. So if that Ind AS include transitional provision, then we'll not apply Ind AS 8. We'll change our accounting policy by applying what? By applying that transitional provision. But if that Ind AS do not include transitional provision, or there is a voluntary change. Voluntary change means management change the accounting policies. Why they change? Because change will result in reliable and more relevant information. Correct now? Yes, sir. Then we'll apply Ind AS 8. So what Ind AS 8 says, apply changes retrospectively. Apply changes retrospectively. What is the meaning of apply changes retrospectively? It means we need to adjust the opening balance of equity, liability, and asset for the earliest prior period presented as if new accounting policy was adopted from the beginning. So it means we need to adjust the opening balance of asset, liability, equity in the beginning of previous year as on the beginning of previous year. It means, can I say, the the asset, liability, and equity will asset, liability, equity will be adjusted for the previous year beginning, for the previous year beginning, from the previous year beginning. Therefore, Ind AS 1 says due to such retrospective application, third balance sheet required at the beginning of previous year. I hope you remember. Prepare third balance sheet at the beginning of previous year as per Ind AS 1. Correct? Yes, sir. Correct. Now, exception to retrospective application. Exception to retrospective application. What Ind AS 8 says, changes in accounting policy shall not be applied retrospectively if it is, sorry, changes in accounting policy shall not be applied retroactively, means some exception has been given. If it is impracticable, the word is if it is impracticable to determine periodic specific effect or cumulative effect of such changes in accounting policy. Means if you are not able to determine any periodic specific effect or cumulative effect for such change in accounting policy, then will not apply retrospective application. Correct? Then what we'll do? For this, I have just given one example. What is that example? Suppose we started a business in 2006 and in 2017 management changes inventory valuation from FIFO to weighted average price method. It is a voluntary change. Now when we say retrospective application means from beginning means from 2006. So therefore it is complicated to apply. Therefore, some limited exception has been given. Yes, sir. Situation number one, all the records from 2006 are available. Then what Ind AS 8 says, you can determine the cumulative effect, apply retrospective application. And after finding out the cumulative effect, just change the opening balance of asset, liability, equity as on the beginning of previous year. Correct? Yes, sir. Situation number two, all the records are available except for 2009, which have been destroyed by fire. Means we have all the records, but 2009 records are not available. Means we are not able to determine a periodic specific effect. Therefore, Ind AS 8 says apply partial retrospective application from 2010. So you need to apply retrospective application, but from 2010. Therefore, we say partial retrospective application. In this, we'll find out cumulative effect from 2010, and we'll adjust the opening balance of asset, liability, equity from the beginning of previous year. Yes, sir. Situation number three, no records of earlier years are available as virus attack on server has destroyed all the past record. All the past record. So in this case, they say we cannot apply retrospective application, apply prospectively from current year. Means we need to give the effect of accounting policy prospectively from current year. I hope you have understood. Correct? Yes, sir. Then changes in accounting estimate. Whenever there is changes in accounting estimate, then what Ind AS 8 says the effect of changes in accounting estimate shall be recognized prospectively. The effect of changes in accounting policies shall be recognized prospectively. This point you understood? Prospectively means what? From the date of change. By including in the PL in the period of change if the change affect only current period, and in the period of change and future period if the change affect both. Correct? Understood? Now, can I say changes in accounting estimate may result from new information or new development? So changes in accounting estimate may result from new information or new development. For a clarification, now changes in depreciation method, amortization method is not a change in accounting policy, it is a change in accounting estimate. Be careful. But changes in the measurement base, cost model to revaluation model or vice versa, it changes in accounting policy. Now what India says, it says whenever there is a whenever there is a difficulty to distinguish between a change in accounting estimate or change in accounting policy, then such change is treated as changes in accounting estimate. So whenever there is a difficulty to distinguish between changes in accounting policy, changes in accounting estimate, apply changes in accounting estimate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have you understood? Yes, sir. Then error. Prior period error. So error include error are omission or misstatement in the financial statement of one or more prior period. One or more prior period. Yes, sir. Now, one special point, error arises from failure to use or most misuse. Error arises from failure to use or misuse, means error also include fraud of reliable information that was available when financial statement are approved. So that information was available when financial statement are approved and could have been obtained and taken into account with reasonable effort. Then such use, failure to use or misuse will be considered as error. Correct? Yes, sir. Correction of error. So material errors are corrected retrospectively. Retrospectively, that is this. That is, errors are corrected in the comparative information presented in the financial statement for the subsequent period. Now there can be two type of error. First, error relate to previous year only. If the error relate to previous year, so can you say we need to restate the income, expense, asset, liability of previous year? Means this restatement will not affect the opening balance of previous year. Therefore, third balance sheet is not required. So when error relate to previous year, we need to restate only comparative information. No third balance is required. But if error relate to any period before previous year, any period before previous year, then can I say we need to restate the opening balance of asset liability equity of previous year, and in that case third balance sheet as per Ind AS 1 will be required. Correct? I hope you have understood. Yes, sir. In this case also exception has been given for retrospective restatement. What Ind AS 8 says, errors shall be corrected by retrospective restatement. Errors shall be corrected by retrospective restatement except if it is impracticable to determine period specific effect or cumulative effect of error. I hope you have understood. Correct. Understood. So this was only a discussion on Ind AS 8. Question, you can do it. It's not difficult. Correct. Now Ind AS 8 only I have just given a revision so that all points are covered in a small discussion. Correct. I hope you understood this point also. Have you understood? Correct. Have you understood? Yes, sir, we have understood. Now we'll come to one more small chapter. That is what? CSR. Can we take CSR? Yes, sir. अच्छा. चलो CSR PDF I don't have right now. So we'll take Ind AS 21. Better we'll take Ind AS 21. That is now Ind AS 21, the effect of changes in foreign exchange rate. Ind AS 21, the effect of changes in foreign exchange rate. Very simple Ind AS. Now, Ind AS 21 says there are three types of currency. One is known as functional currency, one is known as presentation currency, one is known as foreign currency. Now, can I say, just try to understand, they have given three currency. Understood? And if you see, we are here to find out the effect of changes in foreign exchange rate. Means we need to identify all those transactions which are denominated in foreign currency. Means we need to find out foreign currency transaction. Means this chapter is for recognition and measurement of foreign currency transaction. Correct? So then why is a functional currency? Can I say when you identify functional currency, then only other currency will be foreign currency. So it means first you need to identify which currency is functional currency for that entity. Normally functional currency is local currency, but it can be other than local currency also. Correct now? So what is presentation currency? Presentation currency are those currency in which financial statement are presented to the shareholders or ROC. Are you getting? The presentation currency will be also local currency. Means in India, every company who are presenting financial statement in India need to present their financial statement in rupees. But functional currency can be other than rupees also. That means first we need to understand what actually functional currency mean. What actually functional currency mean? Correct now. Once you have identified functional currency, so any currency other than functional currency will be foreign currency. Means functional currency can be dollar, then rupees will become what? Foreign currency. Means for an Indian entity, functional currency can be what? Dollar. So we need to identify functional currency. Yes, sir. So what they say? An entity should measure its asset, liability, equity, income, and expense in its functional currency. Means all the transaction should be recognized as functional currency. Means books of account should be prepared in functional currency. When I am saying books of account, it means journal ledger, not financial statement. Journal ledger trial balance. Understood? Yes, sir. Now, functional currency means currency of a primary economic environment. Functional currency means currency of primary economic environment in which entity operate. So what is primary economic environment? Primary economic environment is the country in which it primarily generate and expend cash. Means we need to find out the country in which such entity is primarily generating and expending cash. Means just try to understand, it might happen you do an export business. Correct now? You do an export business. So it might happen कि whatever collection means whatever revenue you are generating, that may be in dollar. Are you getting? That may be in dollar. So it might happen कि for your business functional currency may be dollar. Correct? Means how to identify? What is a normal situation? Functional currency or local currency, but not always. But not always. But not always. So how to identify functional currency? ये बताओ. So they have given two para 9 and para 10. Para 9 and para 10. First, primary factor. Primary factors are given in para 9. First, we need to apply primary factor. If we cannot determine functional currency by applying primary factor, then we'll go to secondary factor. So what they say? Currency that influence the sale price, currency that will influence the sale price for goods and services. Currency which can influence the sale price of goods and services. Correct? Currency of the country whose competitive forces and regulation mainly determine the sale price of goods and services. Currency of country whose competitive forces and regulation mainly determine the sale price of goods and services. A currency that influence labor cost, material cost, and other cost means I will say cost of production of providing goods and services. Currency that influence cost of production of providing goods and services. Correct now. So if you can determine this currency, then it become primary, then it become functional currency. Are you getting? I've just given an example. Suppose you are doing export business and your sale price is influenced by the sale price of other country. Means your sale price is influenced by the currency of other country. For example, you are doing export in US and US currency influence the sale price of goods and services. But you are doing production in local market. So can I see your cost of production is influenced by local currency? So now you have a doubt whether local currency is your functional currency, your dollar is your functional currency. So in that case, you will apply secondary factor. Means if by applying this primary factor, functional currency remains same, either dollar or rupees, then no doubt. Then apply whatever currency you are getting. But if you have a doubt by applying primary factor, then go to secondary factor. So secondary factor need to be applied not in isolation of primary factor. It need to be applied with primary factor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So secondary factor said currency in which funds from financing activities are generated. Normally, can I say we will receive finance only in that currency in which we want to deal? Means if suppose I am doing business in India, so I will take my finance either from shareholders or from debenture holders in rupees only. So if I want to do my business, if I want to do deal in dollar, so I will take loan in dollar. If I want to deal in rupees, I will take loan in rupees. Are you able to understand? Yes, sir. A currency in which receipt from operating activities are retained, not retained. Means it might happen we are generating revenue from operating activities in dollar, but we are retaining in Indian bank. It means we are retaining in Indian currency, even though generated in dollar, but retained by rupees. Why we are retaining in rupees? Because our all expenditures are based on rupees. Are you getting what I am? But if suppose we are retaining in dollar, it means our functional currency is what? Dollar. I hope you have understood. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This much you understood? Yes, sir. Now, how to identify functional currency of a foreign operation? Foreign operation is what? Foreign operation is what? Foreign subsidiary, foreign associate, foreign joint venture, foreign branch. Are you getting? For that, what will be the functional currency? Whether their functional currency and reporting means the Indian entity foreign currency means if I say in India there is a parent company and in US there is a subsidiary company. For these, functional currency is rupees. Now question is that functional currency of these will be rupees, yeah, dollar. This is doubt. Understood? So we are identifying the functional currency of foreign operation. Foreign operation. Correct. So what Ind AS 21 says, whether the activities of foreign operation are carried out as an extension of reporting entity, whether the activities of foreign operation are just an extension of reporting entity. If the answer is yes, then foreign operation will have same functional currency as as of reporting entity. Means the if the activities of subsidiary company are just carried out as an extension of parent company, then functional currency of subsidiary company will be same as what? Functional currency of parent company. But if the answer is no, then foreign operation will have to identify their own functional currency by applying para 9 and para 10. By applying the guidance given in para 9 and para 10. I hope you have understood. So how we will identify that activities of foreign operation are carried out as an extension of reporting entity? Well, I apply this factor. Apply this factor. If all the factors satisfied, then this is the case. If any one factor is not satisfied, then this is the case. Correct? What they said. What? First, foreign operation does not have autonomy in its operation. Foreign operation does not have autonomy, means they are dependent on reporting entity. Correct? Yes, sir. Foreign operation has high transaction with reporting entity. Means Almost all the transaction of foreign operation are with reporting entity. Means high dependence. Yes, sir. Cash flow from foreign operation directly affect the cash flow of the reporting entity. Means highly dependence. Yes, sir. Cash flow from foreign operation are sufficient to pay its obligation. Cash flow of foreign operation are sufficient to pay its obligation unless uh, cash flow from foreign operation लिखो, are not sufficient to pay its obligation unless supported by reporting entity. Unless supported by reporting entity. So can I say if all these factors satisfied, then if the answer is yes, if any one factor is not satisfied, the answer is no. Understood this point? I hope you have understood how to identify foreign operation. Yes, sir. This point have you understood? Correct. This much have you understood? So what I will do for today this much only, because this will take time for explanation. So for today this much only. I am also tired. We'll meet tomorrow. Till then, bye bye. Take care. Enjoy your remaining day. Bye bye.